I'm sure many of you know that there was a special department of the NYPD that was committed to surveilling Muslims, not only in New York City, but actually across the Northeast. I mean, they had worked their way up in New Jersey, even a college in Maine at one point, I think, as I recall. A very broad monitoring program. Now, the New York City Police Department has decided to abandon this program and disband it. And it was called the Demographics Unit, was the name of it, and basically the police department under the new police chief, William Bratton, who was appointed by Bill de Blasio, have decided to drop this program. Now, that means a couple of different things. Obviously, a serious response to the outrage of the community and the kind of abuses that, and I want to be clear, the abuses that were intrinsic in the program. I think it's very important to disaggregate these things. It's not to say that obviously the NYPD is going to have some role in anticipating terrorist attacks and other types of things that do obviously legitimately threaten New York City. But this was a program that not only completely targeted in a universal and all-encompassing way the Muslim community, it actually was, in its very founding and creation and approach, already an incredible violation of the CIA's relationship with domestic law enforcement, because the program was actually created, was the brainchild of a CIA agent named Lawrence Sanchez, who helped establish the unit in 2003 while he was still on the CIA's payroll. So the very foundation of this program is probably illegal, and if not, if they had a technical workaround of it, profoundly questionable. And again, this was a program where it wasn't a question of building relationships and getting information and building community relations with different communities. Obviously, the vast, endless majority of whom in New York City pose absolutely no threat, and of course are just people from different backgrounds, different immigrant communities, working and living and attempting to build lives in New York City. And Linda Soor of the Arab American Association of New York said in response to the declassification, to the release of documents demonstrating just the absolute breadth of this program, including, again, monitoring Muslim speakers in college campuses, seeing who was showing up for those speaking gigs, spying on different mosques, different restaurants, just this kind of all-encompassing surveillance of the Muslim community in New York. She said, these documents showed us that where we live, that the cafes where we eat, and that where we pray, and that where I buy my groceries, they're able to see their entire lives on these maps, and it completely messed with our psyche as a community, because that was the goal of the program, is to kind of build these full demographic map understandings of these communities. Now, moving forward, there's obviously question marks in terms of what happens next with the program, and there's still lawsuits that have been brought by civil rights advocates. One theory that it seems like this program is going to start getting first of all, the specific unit is obviously disbanded, and certain practices are not going to go forward, they say. And now it seems as if practices like this under the NYPD are going to shift to a model that more closely approximates the FBI. So as an example, the FBI can still do a lot of this kind of demographic information gathering, but as an example, it's prohibited from eavesdropping, documenting completely innocent conversations that would be protected by the First Amendment, and that the demographics unit was not operating within these confines. Another really important thing to just mention briefly, and this is a kind of perfect example of the just kind of stunning reach of this program, that they could get, as an example, I'm trying to find a specific section in the piece. They could basically get the permission to identify a mosque, as an example, as being of risk. And in that way, they could monitor something with complete impunity from license plates numbers to the comings and goings to the ever innermost workings of this mosque without any type of actual kind of tangible suspicion, really, and certainly no warrants or anything else like that. And, and the other upshot from this, and this is always what happens because people like the former Commissioner Ray Kelly, who defended the program and everything else, they'll say, oh, look, it averted all of these attacks and all the rest. But the reality is that from everything we know about this program, for everything as it's been documented, it just mainly succeeded in violating people's rights and further harassing and marginalizing a community that already, of course, is on the receiving end of both law enforcement and racial and ethnic and religious discrimination in this country. So, maybe in some ways this parallels some pullback at the NSA. There's obviously still a vast amount of space to go, but at least we're starting to have these conversations. And kudos to de Blasio and Bratton for at least taking these steps so far.
Well, this is great for the Muslim community. I want to know, what about me, the New York police officer who enjoys spying on innocent Muslims? What am I supposed to do now?
Hey, I spent so many time. I was busting my hump at that falafel stand. What am I supposed to do now? No, but I think, to be fair, I think one of the things that's actually come out really quickly about all of these things, and because the reason the demographics unit partially was exposed was because cops were talking to journalists off the record and leaking this. Because, the same way with stop and frisk, which was this other incredibly problematic, racially discriminatory policing practice in New York under the last administration, cops, like good cops, people who actually want to do that job, of which obviously there are many, and I'm not an apologist for police abuse and all the rest, but I think we can all agree that a lot of people are in that job and they would like to, do a good job of it. Just like most other people who work real jobs, they would go.
Damn right, I spied the fuck out of those Muslims.
Matt can never let a just unimpeded comment go by about the police. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, those people who wanted to have some sense of doing a serious job hated these programs because instead of going out and building community relations, building cases, they were harassing communities and everything was stat driven, which is exactly how, that's the incentive structure of the leadership, not necessarily the guys on the beat. But obviously with the NYPD, I mean, there's still massive question marks and all sorts of things that have not been fully accounted for, from this program to stop and frisk, from the crackdown on Occupy. There's many issues there. I'm just saying, with all of this, if you're a real cop, of which obviously many of them are, who really want to do a good job, this is not helping them do that.